Hello, and welcome to this session of Ask Dr. Sharon. I'm Sharon Walt, the Hashimoto health coach, and I'm delighted that you're joining me either in person or if you're watching the recording sometime later. The whole reason behind the Ask Dr. Sharon series of videos is to answer some common questions that you might have about autoimmune conditions in general or Hashimoto's in particular. So if you have questions, you can either get in touch with me directly, you can put some comments below, or you can actually book a free mini consultation with me, and I'll give you the details about that at the end of this session. Okay, well, let's get started. One of the symptoms that so many people with Hashimoto's complain about the most and are frustrated about the most is fatigue. And in particular, they are frustrated because they can be taking medication, thyroid hormone medication, but they still feel the fatigue all the time. And I just wanted to talk a little bit more about why this is happening and what you can do about it. Okay, so let's get into it here. The first thing that the major cause of why fatigue will still persist even if you're taking medication, and that's because the medication, thyroid hormone replacement, does not address the root cause. Now, remember, the Hashimoto's is primarily an autoimmune condition. It's not just a thyroid hormone deficiency condition. So while thyroid medication, and the most common ones are levothyroxine or Synthroid, while they've replaced thyroid hormones, they do not address the underlying autoimmune activity or the inflammation that continues to not just damage the thyroid, but you can feel the inflammation throughout the body. And it's this ongoing immune dysfunction that can leave you feeling fatigue, even if your lab results improve. Okay, now just a bit of an aside here. Blood tests are an invaluable tool for assessing the status of your health, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. And so I would really hope that your primary medical practitioner does not ignore your symptoms, because that's probably a little bit more important than whether your lab tests are improving, okay? Because if you still got symptoms, there's still something wrong. Okay, sorry, just a little bit of a rant on my side there. Okay, so the next reason for that, and we're kind of still talking about medication here, is that you still may have some suboptimal T3 levels. Now, most thyroid medications, such as I mentioned, levothyroxine, they only replace T4. So that's the inactive form of thyroid hormone. Now, for your body to use it effectively, T4 needs to be converted to T3. That's the active form that powers your metabolism, your energy production, and your brain function, among others. Now, if this conversion process is impaired, and that can be due to nutrient deficiencies, can be due to stress, inflammation, you are still going to be experiencing fatigue. So again, going back about getting blood tests done, TSH by itself tells you practically nothing. You need to be testing for free T4, free T3, and if you can possibly swing it, reverse T3, because that will tell you kind of what the problems are. Do you need more T4, or do you need, or is the problem with the conversion? So if you can't convert, giving you more T4 is not going to help you at all. Okay, and these can only be assessed if you have almost the full panel of thyroid testing done. Okay, now still talking about medication, another issue that might come up is the timing of the medication. So when you take it and whether you're having problems actually absorbing the medication. So if it's not taken correctly and To be taken correctly, it needs to be taken on an empty stomach. So that's the first thing. But if you're also taking some supplements such as calcium or iron, if you're taking those at the same time, that is going to impair the absorption of your thyroid medication. Okay, so even though you're taking it, if you can't absorb it, you're still going to have inadequate levels. Okay. Now, moving away from some of the medication issues, let's look at some of the issues even just with autoimmunity, and that's with chronic inflammation. So an autoimmune activity is going to trigger systemic inflammation, and this can disrupt energy levels, and high inflammation taxes the body's energy resources. So high inflammation takes up a lot of energy, so you're going to start feeling fatigued. And this is even if you are getting sufficient thyroid hormones, because remember, that doesn't directly affect some of the root causes, and inflammation caused by autoimmune activity is a root cause. Now, another reason for still feeling fatigued is if you have some type of adrenal dysfunction. So chronic stress, and that is very, very common. Well, it's common overall, but it's particularly common with people with Hashimoto's, leads to adrenal imbalances. So this could include usually starting off with high cortisol levels, and then over time, actually, your cortisol levels can become very, very low. And when they're low, you're going to just feel fatigued. Now, since the thyroid and the adrenal glands work so closely together, they are all part of this feedback loop, the HPA-TH axis. If you've got dysfunction in one, so you've got a problem with thyroid hormone production, in a lot of cases, that's going to also affect your adrenals as well through a lot of the feedback. And imbalanced cortisol can exacerbate fatigue and then impair your thyroid hormone utilization or even productions. Remember, as I mentioned just previously, high cortisol is going to impair the conversion between T4 and T3. Okay, next reason. I know there seems to be a lot of reasons here. Okay, next one is nutrient deficiencies. Now, if you have Hashimoto's, you are almost always going to have a nutrient deficiency, either as a root cause or as a consequence of your Hashimoto's. So certain nutrients are essential for thyroid hormone production, conversion, and just your overall energy. In particular, if you are low in selenium, if you're low in zinc, if you are low in iron, vitamin D, or magnesium, your body's going to struggle to utilize your thyroid hormones effectively, and you're going to be tired. Now, related to this is some general gut health issues. So, as anyone who, if you've been kind of listening to me for a while now, you know I really do get on about gut health, because it is critical, not just for thyroid health, but for your overall health. Now, regarding thyroid, about 20% of T4 is converted to T3 in the gut. And so if you got poor gut health, so from leaky gut or dysbiosis, so that's an imbalance in your gut bacteria, it's going to disrupt this process. Additionally, nutrient malabsorption caused by gut issues can also worsen fatigue. Like I said, if you can't absorb your nutrients, it's just going to be excreted, and your body and your tissues are not going to benefit from them at all. Now, one reason for fatigue that you may not have considered is that in many, many cases, Hashimoto's does not occur by itself. You can have coexisting conditions. So things like anemia, sleep issues like sleep apnea, fibromyalgia, which is another autoimmune condition. The more of these coexisting conditions you have, the more likelihood that you're going to be contributing or suffering from fatigue. And These conditions may also go undiagnosed if all of your symptoms are attributed solely to Hashimoto's. Now, one of the things that we know if you have another autoimmune condition is that it is going to share root causes with Hashimoto's. So when you address root causes of your Hashimoto's, you will also make the other conditions, you will also improve those as well. Okay, well, that was a heap of reasons there of why just medication alone is not going to resolve fatigue and give you the energy that you really want. So let's just go through a few things on how to combat fatigue. Now, before I get into it, I just want to emphasize that everyone's Hashimoto's, everyone's symptoms that you're experiencing are all going to be slightly different. And that's one of the really frustrating things about treating root causes is they are not all going to be the same. So I'm going to list some of the things that will help. Will they help you in particular? Maybe not to the extent that you wish, okay? But there are things to at least consider. Now, the first one is optimizing your thyroid hormone level. So if you're taking thyroid hormone replacement, and this means you're going to be working with your primary medical practitioner, you need to ensure, number one, when you're looking at your blood tests, that you take all of the necessary blood tests to really hone in on what the problem is. And you want to make sure that the results are in the optimal range and not the normal range. Now, your optimal range is going to be a much thinner bandwidth of results. Normal does not mean healthy. Okay, normal is just a statistical measure of looking at a population of asymptomatic people. Okay, it's a statistical measure that in a lot of cases doesn't have a whole lot to do with health. And looking at the medication, depending on what those results tell you, you may not want to take a T4 hormone by itself. You might want to have a combination of T4 and T3, or you may need to switch to natural desiccated thyroid hormone. Okay, so that would be the first one. If you're on thyroid hormone medication, to make sure you're on the right one. Number two, do what you can to reduce inflammation. Now, there's a number of steps that you can do. You can adopt an anti-inflammatory diet. Okay, you're focusing on whole nutrient-dense food. You can avoid triggers like gluten. Sometimes dairy is also a problem. It may not be for you, but you can test, go off it for a while and see if your symptoms improve. A lot of processed foods will have toxins in them, so artificial colorings, artificial flavors. So the idea is to really try to eliminate as much of that as possible. Adding omega-3 fatty acids can also help. Support your nutrient status. Now, a lot of blood tests can actually tell you if you're deficient in certain things. So you can get tested for selenium, zinc, vitamin D. It's getting harder and harder for them to test for that. They'll just tell you take more, and that's probably not bad advice at all. You may be deficient in iron. I would suggest not taking iron on a regular basis until you have sorted out any gut dysbiosis, because sometimes that can exacerbate it. And a lot of times people will need magnesium. So again, be very careful with supplementation. It should always be targeted. There should be a specific reason. And for many people, it is a temporary solution. It is not the final solution for you. And of course, we want to improve gut health. So part of that is identifying, removing food sensitivities, incorporating, you can incorporate gut health healing foods like bone broth, some fermented vegetables. Now, there are other protocols that you can use for healing the gut, especially for healing the gut lining. If you've got let's call it leaky gut. If you have leaky gut, you are going to have more inflammation. So you really do need to start healing the gut lining. And I would suggest you talk to your primary medical practitioner or a functional medicine health coach, such as myself, because you really need to be guided in that. There are a lot of different protocols on the market, and some of them are going to give you some not so great results. So you need to get some better advice on that. Again, managing stress is very important. So again, techniques like mindfulness, yoga, meditation, anything to bring your stress down, avoiding stressy situations if you can, will also help. Next, addressing sleep concerns. Now, if you don't get enough sleep, if you don't get enough quality sleep, your body's not going to have the time to heal. And this is a big thing. Sometimes sleep problems are related to stress. So again, doing something about the stress. But there are other protocols like good sleep hygiene, consistent bedtime, reducing your screen time, especially before bed, and creating relaxing evening routines. All of this just to put you in the kind of the right mind space to get a good sleep. And if you have some conditions like sleep apnea, or let's say another pre-existing condition such as anemia, then you really do need to talk to a professional about them. Okay. Now, we talked a little bit about timing your medication. So just evaluate it. Take your medication on an empty stomach with water, ideally about 30 to 60 minutes before eating or drinking anything else. Avoid taking it with supplements like calcium and iron, which interfere with absorption. Okay, so there are a lot of things that you can do that may help. Sometimes the fatigue is a lot further downstream, some issues, but if you can deal with some of the upstream or the more foundational issues first, it makes it a whole lot easier to figure out what else is going on. Okay, so just a quick summary here. So any fatigue that you are feeling, if you have Hashimoto's, persists for a lot of different reasons beyond just insufficient thyroid hormone. So by addressing the root causes like inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, gut health, and stress, you can improve your energy levels over time. Now, again, healing from Hashimoto's, it is not a sprint. It is kind of a marathon, and it requires a comprehensive or a holistic approach to support the whole body. Not just the thyroid. Okay, now, if you have some questions about that, as I mentioned right at the very beginning, don't hesitate. You can get in touch with me. Let's see, I'm just going to put the banner up here. Excuse me. If you go to that link, if you use that link, you will find my scheduler and you can book a time with me. And I'm just going to put it in the comments below. Okay, that should be coming up soon. Okay, and then, or you can leave a comment below saying that you want to get in contact, and I will contact you with the links. Okay, look, I hope you found this interesting, and I hope you'll join me again for the next session. But in any case, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. So, bye for now.